How are you, brother?
Yeah, good man. Pretty fucking wired at the moment, to be honest. I'm down in Canberra. My grandfather got awarded the Silver Star today after 50 something years of um, waiting for it. He died in Vietnam, so we're just down here. It's a bit of a funny thing, but yeah, this project has got me on very little sleep for a very long time now. 7 days a week, just crypto world, man. It's intense.
Yeah, I know the feeling a little bit, but probably not anywhere near to the extent that you're experiencing it. But Jamie, who we were just talking to, is down there in Canberra as well. So, um, yeah, I don't know if how long you're down there for, but he's a good man. So, how did it come across that? How did you get started on building an NFT project? Where did this idea come from? And tell me a bit about the journey so far.
Yeah, so I got into crypto a couple of years back. Um, I sold my house. One of the only people to sell my unit um, and lose money in the last however many years.
We're having those
um,
conversations. Yeah.
yeah, and you were one person saying get out of the property market, and I got out for quite a few reasons, but I sunk all the money in crypto, um, all of it. And yeah, I had a mate who was into Bitcoin and XRP at the time, and he just sort of, it's like, you should check out Bitcoin. And I went down the rabbit hole and I just fell in love with I think it's the greatest hero's tale ever told. I think that's part of crypto that people don't really talk about enough. It's like the best Marvel movie ever. I fucking love it. And I went down the rabbit hole and I just didn't stop. I became obsessed. I'm pretty ADHD, and when I get an obsession, it's kind of endless. And that was it. Started with a few hours a day, and then some days it's 20. And I just learned and learned and learned, and I went from 5K to 10K to my entire net worth. Everything is in crypto. I've got my super in crypto. I've got I own digital land. I do it all. And now an
In
NFT project.
Sandbox or
Yeah.
Decentraland?
No, Sandbox. Yeah, I hopped into Decentraland fairly early. I just really didn't like it, and I think if I was going to buy land, I bought it in January, but I mean that was a pretty good time to buy. I was lucky to buy sand, the currency. That nearly 200x for me at one stage. I was really lucky with that move, and unfortunately didn't put as much as I would have liked to in it, but yeah, I've done quite well so far with crypto, and I think probably everyone who you've got that's into it is probably hoping that we all do a little bit better. My intention is to jump out when I've done quite a bit better, but yeah, look, it's hard because we live in this world where we're so wary of the the troubles that this digital life can cause, and I'm definitely fallen victim to it whilst trying to build an NFT project. But it's one of those things you got to try and find the balance with this emerging tech and how you can use it for good, because it'll definitely be used for evil. I truly believe that it already is. And so being kind of ahead of it and looking at ways that you can do it healthily, I think is important. But the NFT project just came from me, the natural progression from crypto and trading and moving into NFTs and buying different NFTs and land. I've got quite a good bag of Rumble Kongs, which are killing it right now, which are a really fantastic community doing, one of the first kind of sports games plays, esports. Yeah, so I've done sort of well with NFTs. And last time I was on here talking to you was about Equal Playing Field, which is still my gig, working overseas, trying to help communities in Papua New Guinea. And I thought, again, we always run into this issue of like funding. You're always putting your hand out for funding from the Australian government, and the fucking winds change, political winds change, and all of a sudden no one wants to fund shit in certain provinces. And I was like, fuck it, we could do a mad NFT project. It was when everything was popping. You could drop any NFT project and it was all going to sell out. Now you move forward a couple of months, just like everything in crypto, everything's changed. You can't just roll out a 10K project now. You've got to do something really special. So I reached out to a mate. I've got a mate who's like a prodigious talent. He's like a hermetic dude. He sits in front of his computer, but he's like one of just this world-class FX artists. And I was knocking on his door, like, let's make something. We've been making music and shit since we were 15. And he's like, Ethereum's bad for the environment. I'm not going to do it. And I was like, layer twos, different chains. Like I was talking all this stuff to him and trying to educate him that you can do it a lot better and it's happening a lot better. And finally, eventually got him to come over just by saying, I'm going to buy you out. So I just bought him out and I just invested in the idea. And the idea is based around a story I wrote for my kids. When I did that Kokoda in a day challenge, it ran 104 kilometers, 6,500 meters elevation, a little over a year ago, to raise money again for Equal Playing Field. I learned all these trails in the mountains and amazing shit. Just beautiful. This mountain I grew up, Mount Kira, where I'm talking about. Yeah. And I wanted them to explore up there. So I wrote this like fantasy story and I hid it in a little parchment scroll and put it in the attic and pretended it was from my ancestors, and it was they were talking to their descendants saying, I've heard all these stories. And so they used it like a map and we did like a 17K walk around the trails. And my daughter was 7 or 6 at the time. And it just emerged from that. Alice kept asking me questions at bedtime and I just kept like telling the next bit of the story. And I wrote this massive fantasy saga that started as a kid's story. It's way too dark now to be a kid's story. And I just took that to my mate and I was like, let's make this shit. And he's just been making you would have seen some of the art. It's just bullshit good. Super proud of it. It's going to be essentially 4 drops in one. We've made 4 like independent collections and they're kind of rolled into the one sort of Genesis collection. And the hope is to do something really big and fucking ambitious. We're going to have a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization for the well-initiated. We want to eventually have a metaverse play. We want to have our own metaverse play, but something that is uniquely not like spend fucking 24 hours a day grinding in front of a computer trying to build something. Instead, like you have to go to sleep. You need other members of community to do something. It's not something you're supposed to spend your whole life in. It's actually just an addition to your life. But
that's
really
radical.
Yeah. Like we want it to be like Second Life, and I never was super into Second Life, but the idea that actually it's analogous to real life, so that you can't. If you're a Bura, if you're one of these characters in a community and you want to build a hut, you probably can't build that on your own, or you definitely can't build a big structure on your own. So you need community. So you need to talk to people in real life and say, hey, like, can you come meet me here, or can we go together? Can we form a community and build this village? Because if I do it alone, I'm going to be left to the elements. So actually bringing real elements of community into the digital space and trying to show people that, like, if we're going to spend some of our life in there, we should really be thinking about how to do that healthily, because we know these fucking toxic ecosystems that are emerging and have already emerged in the digital space, and it's something that we need to kind of avoid.
What are you talking about there without
the toxic ecosystems?
Yeah, you're talking about Facebook and Instagram stuff, or are you talking about?
For sure.
Yeah.
So part of what I do with Equal Playing Field in Australia is we're doing I've got a team of PhD candidates, a few lecturers from Macquarie and from UOW, University of Wollongong, and we're doing a harms of social media research project. Essentially, I watched The Social Dilemma. It reminded me of tons of things I already knew. Ended up reaching out to Jonathan Haidt, who you probably would have heard on Rogan.
Is he the guy who made it Social Dilemma? I haven't.
No, he's in the Social Dilemma. He wrote Coddling of the American Mind.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen Social Dilemma.
Yeah, definitely should hop on. It's stuff you would have already learned about, but just the absolute manipulation of us as humans at the hands of big tech, and specifically how it's harming kids. Brutal. It's a real issue. So looking at that and trying to balance these ideas and try and find a way to do it better is really challenging. Yeah. So
is the equal playing field related to the NFT, or is there a connection?
Yeah, so we're giving some of the profits. So 7.5% of everything within the smart contract will always go to EPF. And the idea was really trying to finally find something that could be, constant income for the organization. And also, we want to kind of bridge that sort of, again, the digital communities with real life communities. So connecting to actual programs. A lot of NFT projects talk about giving to charity, but there's
World Wildlife Fund.
Yeah, and not every charity is a charity, and
yeah, that's what I meant. A lot of token stuff. That's amazing. I'm really excited to hear that. I'll link the podcast that we did about equal playing field and sharing a bit more about your preparation for Kokoda and all that sort of stuff.
Cool.
So that people can go back and dive a bit more into what you're actually up to there, because I want to stay more NFT focused.
Yeah, man.
Because
sure. Ask away, man. I just had a massive rant, so ask.
That's a cool. I mean, what you're sharing there is about the 7.5% going to your life's work to make a difference in life in remote villages in Papua New Guinea. It's that's brings so much to it. And I'm also, I've also made some videos of how can we use the metaverse for good. So the stuff that you're talking about there is exactly where my mind's been going with this as well. And I look at Buckminster Fuller's work in Critical Path. He spoke about we're not going to need everybody to work in the way that they're working now. He wrote it in the 80s or 90s, maybe even before that, 70s. You're not going to need people to work the way they work now. We're going to have a lot of robots and a lot of automation, and it's just not going to be necessary. So what are people going to do? And his thought was that we would be using a two-way screen, he called it two-way television, which is kind of what we have, to be extremely educated, and for people to be sitting at home working out how to improve the system, so that kids wouldn't need to go to school. But the two-way device would be used to educate and to kind of optimize life on Earth. And, that's what he expected to happen, some of Earl Nightingale's stuff as well. That was the vision for the future. And now we seem to be at this crossroads of that's really possible now, where we could have AI-based learning and the most positive environment, or we could have, AI-based making people feel not so good and just being extremely addicted to stuff that they're not proud of. So I mean, this is a huge question. I love that we're able to have this conversation around the social side. Talk to me about building that community. It's how long have you actually, when did this start to become real, that something that people could kind of click on and learn about?
Sorry, I'm just making sure this doesn't. There it is. Stop charging. We started work on this 3 months ago. So just started sort of, in the Twitter space mostly, just connecting. I'm involved with a few different communities, so kind of connected in with them. And you just build a Discord, you build a Twitter. It's tough. It's a tough market now. It really is. Everyone jumped into it, and it's just so much sameness, so much crap out there. Like anything like this, something blows up and everyone wants to jump on it. But building the community, it's just about, I guess, sharing what it is. I've made a whole screenplay. We have heaps of art. You engage people in different content and communication within the Discord. I really early on didn't want to be one of these projects that just had people endlessly talking in a Discord, and that can kind of hamper you because the really kind of manically the kind of projects that blow up tend to be the ones that really gain people's attention and use all of the same sorts of techniques that are the issues with big tech. They kind of play into those pleasure centers and the fear of missing out stuff that I find to be pretty gross. So it is a really interesting. You have to constantly question yourself and how you want to engage community. Like, in what way do you want to market? So it's pretty. I would say it's extremely challenging right now. This is the most challenging time, I think, to drop NFTs in the past year. I think, yeah.
A lot of new people coming into I know just from my own circle, a lot of people have bought their first NFT in the last month, I think that the market, as you say, there's so many spam projects that are just, they're not exactly criminal, but they're very close to it, where they're launching 10,000 tokens. They're pretending that there's huge interest in it, and they're taking people's money, and there's nothing behind the project that suggests that it's going to exist 3 months from now. So there's so much of that going on that it's difficult for people to tell the difference. What's the difference between your project and one of them? I know you've already outlined a little bit, but I think it's worth banging on this a little bit.
I did a little vid just yesterday about this, actually, because what I've noticed in a bunch of different communities is there's this, everyone's started to, it's become really toxic in the last couple of months. Everyone's started to sort of pause and stare at different things that they're in, and they're trying to hop on a bunch of different whitelists, and they're trying to see what's about to do that feverish run up. And everyone has forgotten what NFTs are supposed to be about, and it's either about the art, or it's about the community, or it's about both, or it's about whatever that project is. And so the little vid I did was just to say, I'm making this because I get to work with my best friend, who's an unbelievable artist. The NFTs that he's creating, I think, are better than anything else out there. I'm biased. Even if I wasn't biased, they're better than 99.9%. They're just quality, fucking amazing. So it's great art. I think we've got the deepest narrative and lore of any NFT project. I haven't found any that comes close. I've written fucking eons of storyline. We've got 4 races. We've got the Bura, the Mara, the Mingieri, and the Dawo, and they've all got they're genus, and they've all got classes and races within them. There's all this lore under this massively grand narrative, inspired far too much or not enough by so many mushrooms. Look, I'm super keen on all of the amazing things that made me fall in love with crypto. I actually want the community to guide and own the process. So for me, it's what I said yesterday was, I want everyone to buy our NFTs. If you want to buy them, as weird as that is to say, do you like it? Do you like the look of it? Do you like the story? Do you want to be part of the community? Do you like the roadmap? Then fucking buy it. If you want to speculate. If it looks like a good speculation play, then speculate. But for me, I buy shit that I want. I always did. I've got sewer rats, which a lot of people don't love sewer rats. I saw sewer rats roadmap and I fucking loved it. They're awesome. I'm now really good friends with the Rat King. I won't dox him. I keep doxing him by saying his name. He's done this amazing. He uses DeFi so beautifully and seamlessly in what he does. I've taken heaps of inspiration from him. Just like them at the Sewer Rats, we want to have an artist marketplace where the community members can contribute their art inspired by the story, by the screenplay. They can draw scenes. They can do derivatives of characters, and they can be paid in our token, our internal ecosystem token, not used for speculation, but used to push people to be creative and expand expand our universe. That's sort of the hope. The big dream that I have, we just talked about, the grand narrative that this falls into, grander than Gyrus itself, is the idea of simulation theory. That we're going to get deep here. This is where all the mushrooms come in. But if we take it that, virtual reality will become so real that it can't be divorced from our own. If we take that as truth, if we think that is probably going to happen, then we have to admit that right now, this existence that we're in could very well be just a creation of something else. Other people would say that is God, but that is the idea of simulation theory, matrix. People have said it in different ways. But I view that as the collective consciousness, as creativity, as God. And in that, I believe that we have the ability with our minds and collectively to create worlds. Gyrus is a world. My hope for this, I want to see it grow to a point where what the DAO is, and it says this in the launchpad, in the light paper, in the manifesto, is that it becomes a values-based DAO, and that community members and people from outside can come to us and say, we have a really cool design thesis for a story for a different universe that goes off of your universe. It can have a very simple link. Doesn't have to have the same physics, characters, or anything. But it merely has to have the idea that the collective consciousness is God, that we as communities are God, and that we can create complete worlds. And it's only the only limitation is our creativity. And to come back to what you were saying about the world changing and this interface, I think more than anything, creativity is humanity. That is what separates us. That is what we are in essence. I think this ability to, I think that's what defines us from the machines. And there's some cool AI art creation out there making a fucking shitload of money for people, for sure. But I don't think we can ever be done away with, because we are creative entities. And I think when you are able to, when you have the freedom to create, it is such a beautiful world. And that is what I hope this technology brings. So that's why I love everything in this crypto space, because I think if done right, it allows us to be the highest form of human. It gives us freedom to not worry about the wolf at the door, to create the wolf at the door through other means, through intense exercise, running in fucking mountains. But we have space and time to create these wondrous worlds. And the metaverse allows you to, all those dreams you have in your head, all that creativity, we can now create it with technology. And as we go further, it becomes more and more real and more immersive. And that's fucking awesome. So that's what I hope this turns out as. But what I promise people is that we've got 4 separate drops of amazing fucking art. It's hot shit. We want to use any funds that come through to just keep investing in the project and keep building. Because as I said, I made it was for my kids. My daughter loves it. My son, he wrote they're sliding stuff under the door now. They're outside in the hallway. He came up with the name for the king of the Mingieri, Alavad. My daughter, as I said, was such an inspiration in the story. I've already got 3 parts, long parts. They all find their place in there. My father's in it. My mother's in it. I've written the Bura language. I've written a language for the Bura. I love this. So I'm just going to keep making it. So if people want to jump in and be involved, fucking sick. If they don't, that's cool too. But I'm going to keep making it with my best mate, and it's going to be sick. That's what's different. That for me, that's what's different. There's no fucking people lost the life and the joy of what decentralization is supposed to be. It's Satoshi. It is the greatest fucking hero story ever told. It is Satoshi. And we've lost the narrative. We've lost the beautiful the lore of decentralization with all this bullshit talk about tech and everyone wants to get rich and everyone wants this, and we forgot that it's the greatest fucking story ever told.
So good. I love this conversation. I love where you've gone with it, and the use of NFTs to like, how do you find something that you just love so much that you want to continue to do it, and then people can choose to be part of it. They can choose to contribute to it. They can, in some ways, in some of the tokens, that it can become their income source. They can build something that plugs onto the side of it, where by them building something amazing, the stronger your community is, the more you can like support them. Like maybe you're going to be able to do like hackathons of like adding on to your community, depending on how financial the community is, like the potential for this is phenomenal. And whether someone listening is specifically like, it may or may not resonate, like the story and what you're doing, but what I'm pretty sure every human understands is like you're pursuing your mastery and your creativity. And that is something that like is, that's the most important message I think that we can share at the moment, as you kind of defining humans as the creative beings. And then you're going through this mastery process in creating, like that's, that's so important, so powerful. I'd like to touch on the greatest story ever told, the hero of Bitcoin and Satoshi. Yeah. Like, in what way is it a hero story for you? Because I think we all understand it, slightly differently.
Yeah. Look, for the GFC to happen, like there's so many of us that sit here and look at the world and just go, what the fuck is what is this mass psychosis going on? We all know that the world got fucked over by the banking system, and yet all the average people lost a ton of their money, and yet they all got bailed out, and they all got propped back up, and they're all
the banks did, yeah.
A couple of people got jailed, I think 2. Nothing happened to them. Everyone just got super rich again, probably a lot richer than they were, because now all those folks can just buy the bottom of everything. And, Satoshi pops up, him, they, she, whoever it was, and just says, fucking check this out. Like just this little sneak it into the world to the right people. Look at what I can do. Like this could work. He wrote the guide to completely disrupt this complex web of power that has emerged naturally over the course of the rise and fall of civilizations, and specifically now the last couple of hundred years. The reason why I think it's the greatest story ever told is because you don't really find too many true heroic stories where they don't show their face. They don't take the money. They create the biggest asset in human history, and they don't take any of it. They give it to the world. That's the modern day Jesus. Like it is the story. Now, is it because he died? Is it because and there's arguments that there was a little bit pre-mined and certain things like that. I like, for me, I'm a believer in the pure form of it, and I just think alive or not, could have outed himself, themselves, herself, could have done it at any time, unless they got hit by a bus when they were planning to. And if they did, I'll never know. I just think that's such a selfless act to not take from such a beautiful gift. And then everything that it became. There was no Ethereum without Bitcoin. It just wouldn't have happened. And look at what Ethereum has become. It's the beast. It's bigger. It is a more. It has more impact than Bitcoin. As a technology, I think. It can't because Bitcoin was first, but I think you know what I mean. You can do so much more with
Yeah.
Ethereum and the Ethereum network.
But is Ethereum actually good, or does it have all the good people working on it because it opened the door for people to do what they wanted to do, and now it had momentum because of that. Like I'm pretty new to the space and the conversation. I haven't really gone to the depths, especially on Ethereum. But it sort of looks to me like it's phenomenal because the people who've built on it are phenomenal, but the actual thing itself is kind of holding things back, with the speed and with the fees, and like compared to what's happened in the last couple of years. Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I think that is such a behemoth that it is the victim of its own success. Like that's what's happened. The usage is so high that the gas fees are now at a stage that you can't afford it. It's only because of the price of ETH that the gas fees cost you so much. So its success has kind of created that. And I mean, I wrote a massive thread today about why I'm all multi-chain. Like I believe in it all. Some are better than others. Bitcoin is amazing and pure for what it is, and I love it. I love it for that. Ethereum, it'll move into Ethereum 2.0. I think it'll take longer than 2022, like people are talking about. But once it does that, those cost issues will hopefully go away. I'm invested in IMX. Originally, that's immutable. Originally, we were going to be launching on immutable, but we couldn't tokenize and we couldn't have a DAO on there. So we ended up moving to Solana. True layer 2s using what's called ZK rollups. For those who don't know, basically they do this kind of batch transaction where the cost can be hundreds of thousands times cheaper. They can do everything. They have the security of Ethereum, but the gas fees are super, super low. This is amazing technology, and even Vitalik has said that that is the future of Ethereum, is ZK rollups. Even Polygon, which is not a layer 2, it's actually a side chain, doesn't have the same security as Ethereum, although many people think it does. It now has acquired a bunch of technologies, including ZK rollup technology, and it will integrate that eventually. They're big players. That will emerge as they grow as something to be like. I think they will kill Ethereum in a way because, they will do what Ethereum now can't, unless Ethereum 2.0 allows people to, democratizes it again because of its low cost. You've got something like Avalanche, which again, I'm kind of invested in that ecosystem, but fees on Avalanche are quite high now because of usage. Same problem. They didn't learn from Ethereum. They just kind of almost copy and pasted like has been done elsewhere. Binance, again, I've ton of stuff with Binance Smart Chain, super, super cheap, but it's a bit of a no frills. It's like your cheap supermarket. A lot of dodgy stuff going on over there. But there's a lot of great options. Where with Solana, because it's like a different type of technology. There's questions around its security, but I actually think that the security's quite strong, and it's still quite new, so it's learning all the time, and it's doing amazing shit. It's backed by FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, who's another one of these fucking wizards. But what you said about people, I think that is important though, because you think about what do you want to invest in. You actually want to invest in people. I think technology is important, but you want to look at the people at the top and be like, well, I believe you're going to do some good shit, and you might not always do the best, but you're going to steer things in the right direction. And if you listen to Vitalik in the way that he speaks, he says ZK rollups are the answer to scaling Ethereum. That he's talking about essentially competitors, I guess. They're on the Ethereum network, but that they're that's something else than base layer Ethereum. So yeah, I think what Ethereum is, unfortunately, Ethereum, for better and for worse, brought capitalism to crypto. It brought the markets. Yes, people were trading with Bitcoin, but it was that beautifully kind of no one owned it. And Ethereum does that as well. It's decentralized, but I think you still you got the Ethereum Foundation. You sort of, everyone when they start has to be inherently less decentralized than what Bitcoin has become. So look, I think Ethereum's great, but I know you're big on Theta. So am I, invested. I'm so spread. Just because if I like the technology, I'll jump in. A lot of my plays, I can't have a split strategy. I have some plays based purely on TA, and then a bunch that are for me like fundamental plays. When I look at it and I think that's going to do well, that has a good use case. If I don't pick the top of this or get out at a good time and it goes down, I think it's going to be okay next run. Not a bad thing to have in the wallet. I think you can always feel a little bit better when it comes to, I think, certain projects. If you have that feeling, like ADA, I jumped in on Cardano at 4 cents originally.
Me too.
Yeah,
that was when I first got in. So we must have been pretty similar. We're probably chatting at those times, maybe.
And I only put like a couple of $100 in it. I actually, how I made that call is I got into Bitcoin and I was like, I did a Google search, what are the best? And it popped up. I was like, fuck it, put a little bit in that. And then I went and learned about it, and I put a ton in. It's pretty much my biggest, probably my biggest bag, one of my biggest bags, at sort of 20 cents, 25 cents. Because that's something that it ran up to $3. Probably should have sold some more up there. It's come all the way down, but I know that it's here. It's here for the next run. If it has topped out and it's not going to retrace or whatever, I still know that next run it's going to be fine. So, so I kind of split myself in that way. I think if you believe in assets like that, it becomes easier. And then of course you have your trading plays and you listen to who you listen to. Some will be wrong, some will be right.
Yeah, the Cardano definitely has a strong community and big infrastructure and all those sorts of things. There's so much to look at, so much to learn. I sort of made the decision to not keep going much deeper, and it wasn't really till NFTs that it sort of brought my attention back to it. Like I sort of took some positions and decided, okay, focus on business, and so I can play a bigger game. But then the NFT play brought me back in, but it wasn't really until Theta launched their Secret Pineapple Society that I got it. Like I was just buying all these crappy little NFTs on Theta, like Theta Zillas for like $5. I mean, maybe they're not crappy, I shouldn't say that, but maybe they'll end up being good if the network does something, and if it goes where we think it might. But the Secret Pineapple Society was like, oh, these are pretty cool. Like these are really capturing people's hearts and minds. Like they launched for $200 and then they pretty much instantly went to 2,000 or 1,000, and so and then we started a Telegram group around it. Like I told the guys, I just made like, a couple of grand on this, like instantly. I think this is going to be a big thing for Theta. Like I've seen in the Theta white paper, they said that, NFTs are like their key growth strategy for sort of 2021, 2022. And they hadn't really done anything that was suggesting that that was going to be successful for them. Mm. And I was like, oh, this might be the thing that they're really going to like put some bank behind kind of thing. It's not run by Theta, but it kind of felt like that to me of like, this is their play. Yeah. And so I bought one and then other guys started buying them. We're all chatting about it. And then, I ended up like, I bought this $30,000 one because I was like, I kind of had it in my mind of like, well, I think Theta is going to be big. And I bought the one that looked most Theta to me. And it was like, it's a Squid Games NFT. And I didn't even know what Squid Games was. So it just looked really Theta to me. And so I bought it. It was one of the custom ones. And there were a few other purchases already above that. And I was like, this is, now I get it. And I could see the energy. So we started a Telegram group around it just with like my buddies who were all buying them. And then I added like 2 other guys from somewhere else. I can't even remember how. And then they started adding their friends who were like all Theta crew. And now there's like 200 of us in there. And I'm like, oh, I get this now. Like, and people want to help each other out. They want to jump on calls. They want to collaborate on projects. They want to meet up for holidays. Yeah. Like what you're talking about of like the beauty of NFTs and stuff. Like, I think I've just experienced that and maybe because Theta's like, a smaller community and they didn't really have any good big NFTs to rally around. But I've just experienced like the power of an NFT community. And it's real. It's real as anything. Like when these people, like they're like, yeah, like there's a guy that works in international marketing. He's had a bunch of success. He's like, I want to talk to you about your project, man, because I think this is really cool, and I can see these corporate partnerships, and like, can we have a conversation? I'm like, hell yeah, like, and that's real. Like that is real as anything gets. And it's because we have the same NFT, and we've that shows that we've got some vision, and because I made that 30K play. People will look at it and go, well, he had $30,000 to put into that. Like it or love it, like that tells you something about, level of commitment, having some level of success in other areas of life, or being batshit crazy and, accessing credit, or who knows, but, whichever way, like you're, it does speak like it's, and, I still get people messaging me, and it's good because it's a good question to ask, but like, why, like, why is this any good? Like surely these are just like, there's nothing to it. Like it's just a JPEG. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. But the social dynamic makes it like, so much different to that. The DAO and the tokenizing, like when you said, oh yeah, we wanted to do it on, was it called Immutable? But you ended up. So talk to us about the details of how it's been to actually get that technical stuff off the ground with the development side, the developer side of tokenizing it.
So, I mean, that all happens post, you got to, the community will be tokenized, everyone will have airdropped Gyrus token. So it's really not too difficult to tokenize your ecosystem if you have the right chain. Like airdropping a token, especially used internally, is really quite simple. I
actually did that first as well. I did that before I thought about launching my own NFT. I made a token and dropped it to my guys. We haven't done much with it yet because I think that we kind of got it backwards, but it's pretty simple to do on the Theta thing.
It's experimenting, but so and then it becomes a little bit more challenging. It just takes investment when you have a liquidity pair. So when you want to pair it with a whether it's ETH or whatever, like it might be Theta, wherever Sol, then you have to. You need to have had capital within the ecosystem to be able to do that, and then it can be traded outside. That doesn't need to be your first step. You can keep it internal to start with, and then you create a liquidity pool. So
can we talk a bit about that? Because I did that. I started mine, and then I looked at liquidity, and then I couldn't really get my head around it, because if I priced it at like a decent price, then I could see how my pool was just going to get drained straight away because they hadn't really built value around the token yet.
That's the problem.
That's the game, isn't it?
You need to sort of make sure that there's the value in there. I'm not a tokenomics expert, so I've learned a lot over the years, but again, like I've got a guy who I'm really keen to bring on to do the tokenomics consulting. I'll hook you up. I almost got him beforehand. There's only so much you can invest before you've sort of brought the whole fam along. And then as for the DAO's a little bit more complicated because it's a new process. So there's a guy who I reached out quite a while back from Rarible and the Rarible DAO, and he was awesome. There's so many like extremely talented people around that if you just keep asking questions, and they offer support. Some people will say, like they'll want money. Other people just like, I can push you in the right direction. So if you have a good blockchain dev, so we've got Saba, he's a young guy from Estonia. He's awesome, just a legendary dude. And he doesn't have experience with DAOs, but he's a blockchain dev. And then we've got awesome friends in other communities, like the team at Sewer Rats who have a DAO. Plenty of NFT communities have DAOs. So ours will be like every DAO has to be created differently. And you guys could utilize a DAO already, or at least play in a DAO-like structure. Hey, kids. Already without it being fully on chain. Like you can start playing with it, just learning, and it's like making some decisions together as a community. Like with your crew, you can start playing with it already. I love that because it is, again, the DAO is the future of community governance. You can still set it up so that you have like a transition process where you have essentially, you might say, I'm going to give all my voting power to this person, and there might only be, there might be essentially what's a board of directors that put their voting weight into certain things, but you put up a proposal, and each DAO has different rules. Some DAOs are anyone can put a proposal. Some DAOs are you need to put down X amount of whatever the currency is, whatever it is. You can't just keep putting it up. And then people have to vote on what's best for them. And the beauty about that is the hard thing as a founder is that like you might have some decisions taken out of your hands that you might not think are the greatest ideas. But that's also like as a leader, part of like building better communities and building better people is actually like, if it does fuck up, letting it fuck up, having your voice be heard but not agreed with, that's kind of an important part of the process as well. You can emphatically be against something, but if they choose against it, that is the power that you're giving to the DAO. So when you endow the DAO with power, you need to kind of think about that. Do you want to give them complete control of your community? Do you want it to be something else? For us, we want to give stewardship over the multiverse. But I've got this, like I thought about this so much. This interesting thought process that you have, and it's analogous to like communism and capitalism. If I was to say the community gets complete intellectual property over the gyrus story, then I don't think artists are as motivated to do the thing that is theirs, to do the thing that is theirs. But if you set up a structure where other people can come with value and they can be paid and get value for that. Can you turn that off, please, guys? Sorry, man.
I can't hear it, but yeah.
Oh, they just turned on the air conditioner. You would have heard it in a second. I've lost my spot.
People contributing to the
you should get rewarded for your effort. If everyone gets rewarded equally for your effort, then what you get is a state of communism, which notoriously works out really shit for everyone because no one is motivated to do work. So finding the balance between democratizing decision-making but also rewarding value is like where we want to get to as a society, and the DAO allows us to do that in a microcosm. Again, why I'm so excited about DAOs. So this project for me is trying to bring about all of these things, wildly ambitious, trying to do so many things. But this is the future. And I think it's you guys like getting out there, trying stuff, failing, learning, doing whatever, that like all of us doing these things that moves the space forward. I mean, the whole, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a filmmaker. That's kind of where actually this really came from. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I watched films all the time. I always write. I've been a creative for a long time. So this screenplay was kind of about that for me. It's I want to make something. So we're funding the screenplay to be either a pilot or a short. We're gonna make something with a team that we can then further market, that we can pitch to streaming services, to production houses, studios. Like, we want to build the story. We want the community to ride off the back of story, but then be its own entity, creating this beautiful thing together.
The best case for this is like so big. I mean, that's kind of the thing of NFTs, right? Like, it's like, if this goes to plan, if the token value is X, then everything is possible, right? Like, that's the upside is just so huge.
The upside is almost endless, and we've seen that. Like, speaking generally, not speaking specifically of mine, but I've certainly thought of that sort of infinite. In my head, I see a future of a community funded Marvel Studios. Where we don't have this bullshit. Disney buying fucking Star Wars and just running out everything that they can, turning into the woke mafia and taking creativity from the creatives and making it some kind of plastic, repurposed thing, taking the essence out of brilliant creativity with corporate fucking greed. That is where media has gone. That is where the greatest stories ever told have gone. And in my head, I'm like, the people should own this shit. Let the people decide, like, what the next universe is. Let them decide. Like, let collaborative creativity and creators be the owners of these immersive worlds. Don't let non-creatives come in and dictate what becomes the next part of the story. I can't fucking. It is the new era of what we've heard, like people talk about. Rogan and others talk about how the producers sit at the table and say, we're going to change this, we're going to change this, we're going to change this. Yeah, it's endless, man. All this is endless. It's fucking exciting. Keeps me up way too late all the time.
Yeah, I was so glad to see that you were doing it. Like, I had no idea. I'm not even sure how. I think we just popped up on Telegram because I started the Real Movement thing again somehow. Yeah,
it popped up. I was had some marketing being done by a marketing crew, and they use Telegram.
Yeah.
And they use Telegram, and so I like hopped in there, and I've got like a billion things from when I've used it last time. I try and stay off it, and then you or someone just popped up and said NFTs. I was like, King's talking about NFTs, and I was like, hey guys, I'm doing one. So,
crazy, hey, just coincidence, and it's like literally, yeah. I've just started looking at it, and so when does yours launch?
So we're doing 4 separate drops. So the first one is on the 21st of December, or the 22nd, the morning of the 22nd for Australia. And that'll be our first, and then everyone gets kind of priority access for the other 3. So the Bura, if you hop on Gyrus NFT, GYRIS_NFT on Twitter, you'll see the Bura, which are these big motherfuckers. They're our first cab off the rank, and you'll also see the Mara, which are they link to the mycelium network. They're kind of like they're sort of these fungus-like creatures that are servant of the sea. Gamuri, they have this real deep connection with the Bura, and they're, again, a completely unique genus themselves. They'll be the next one. And then we have the Mingieri and the Dawo. We'll have like examples of all 4 before the launch of the first. But the idea is we wanted to step it out, give people, time to digest and enjoy, and make sure that every drop is solid. Yeah. And to the fucking moon or to the ground, man, whatever.
What's the what's the price on the mint?
1.5 Sol, which
how much
today is, I think Sol's at about 165 at the moment. So
a couple $100, $240 or something.
A few hundred or something, yeah.
How many?
Yes. There's
How many?
for this drop, there's 2,735. So in the entire Genesis collection of the four, there's 4 times 2,735. But so there's smallish for each drop, and 10,940, which is a Fibonacci number. Fibonacci numbers have kind of feature all the way through the story, so it's that strange number for a reason.
Yeah, very cool. And how? Yeah, so are you whitelisting, and what's the pre-minting process?
If you've got some peeps that want to jump on, we could talk about a little a couple of
I don't know. I'm just curious also of how you're doing it. You know, like the more than likely will be, I'd say, based on what you've experienced, just the heat of the space and all that. But
we're doing a whitelist. So we've got a couple of little community collabs. So I did some anthems for Rumble Kongs and for Sewer Rats. So this is the power of communities, right? So as you said, you get in these communities, you see like the vibe of it. I did did all the voices for rats, these sewer rats, and like did an anthem with my producer. Did it for them. Same with Rumble Kong. So use kind of those as a way to provide value, and then also offer some of those community members whitelist spots. So there's a sewer rats whitelist, there's a Rumble Kong's whitelist, and there's a gyrus whitelist, and people got whitelisted by inviting people into the community, being active, different things like that. Rewarding people for their sort of service, I guess.
That's cool. So are you looking to like sell them? Like, how many are you going to sell on the whitelist?
To be honest, what we've been doing is doing like Google forms and just seeing what people want to buy. The majority of people want to buy. We only did like 1 to 5. We kind of, didn't want to allow unlimited. And most people are going for like 3, 4, and 5. I think the majority is actually 5, which is nice. But you never know what people are going to do come mint day. The world could crash to shit. So so that's what we're doing. And then as we get closer and we're kind of counting those numbers, we'll decide whether we cap that. So that's the process, and then it'll go to public mint, and then people can mint as many as they bloody well want.
So how long before the public minting are you going to do the?
There'll be a short window. Yeah, there'll be a short window. So there'll be pre-sale. It'll be same day in Australia.
Like 8 hours or 12 hours or something.
Something like that. I don't have the final details on that. I've got we've got our dev kind of working sort of feverishly to manage all that. The whitelisting process through Solana is not as common as Ethereum, so it's a whole new set of things. He's a Solidity dev, so he's Ethereum dev, and Solidity, is the language across a bunch of different chains. But Solana uses Rust, but Rust is C++ language. He's a C++ coder, so he can do both. But in terms of having done projects on Solana, this is his first Solana project. So there's a few of those little things that are being worked out. So I'll let the community know kind of when public is after that. After we work that out.
Last question. I'm jumping onto it with another fantastic Adam, who's also a NFT enthusiast. In a second, but is there collab land or login? Have you looked at like actual utility of the token in terms of user experience stuff on Solana?
So I don't get what you mean by
so collab land is like a plugin for Discord from it works for Ethereum, where you get certain access within the Discord based on holding the NFT in your wallet.
So there's an equivalent. Okay, I get your question. So there's an equivalent. I can't remember the name of it. I was looking at it the other day. So again, you marry up your Discord with your wallet. I can't remember what it's called.
That doesn't matter about the name, but I was just wondering if you.
Look, and Solana does some, like, in terms of user experience, does some things a lot better than Ethereum. Like their Phantom wallet, like you can actually see all your NFTs in the wallet. You can buy fiat. You can buy Sol directly with fiat through your wallet. Like you don't have to do this whole get it, transfer it in. It really has done some pretty special stuff. Again, it's emerging, but it's other than Ethereum, it's the big dog in town. You know, it's the second ecosystem for NFTs or new projects anyway. Polygon is obviously huge because it's got taking Sandbox now, but Polygon doesn't really launch NFTs. It takes on massive projects. So yeah.